Okay, video solutions for the homework packet 74 through 88 evens. And here we're finding the midpoint, and in a couple problems we're finding the endpoint when we know the midpoint. So we know from class today that we had a formula. The midpoint, okay, we'll just call it mid, equals, in parentheses because it's an actual ordered pair, the two x coordinates added up and divided by 2, and then the two y coordinates added up and divided by 2. And we talked in class, and you're given a demonstration of when you find distance between 2 points, two dollar amounts. For example, you add up the numbers and divide by 2. You're basically finding the middle or average in a way. All right. So we just substitute first after writing the formula. So make sure you do your x's. So I have 4 plus 2 over 2. And then I have my y's, -1 plus -7 over 2. You just got to be careful that you do your integers right. All right, so that leaves me 6 over 2. And -1, -7 is -8 over 2. And then you divide. So my midpoint is 3 and -4. Okay, if I were to draw a coordinate plane and check that, I can estimate that too as well. So every single one of these problems, you can basically find the midpoint close to where it is if you do that. So like I did in class, let's mark these. So that's going to be our 5, -5, +5, -5. That helps us to estimate where we're going to do. So over 4 would be right about here and down 1. Over 2, so right about here and down 7. So if we were to draw this line, or this segment right here, the midpoint would be somewhere about there. Okay, and so if we look at our answer, 3, -4, that sure looks like it over 3 and down 4, so it looks like we did it right. Next one. So I have 7, 0 and -3, 9. So again, I'm going to use the formula. So midpoint equals the x's added up divided by 2 and the y's added up divided by 2. And if you don't want to write the formula every time, I can understand that's not a big problem. But you should do it for a few times to remember it. So I have 7 plus 0 divided by 2. Oops, made a mistake, didn't I? Put 7 in the 0. So be careful of that. I took the x and the y. Okay, so 7 plus -3. So in order to avoid that, you might do this. X, x, y, y. Then you can avoid the problem I just made, or the mistake. Okay, my y's are 0 plus 9 divided by 2. So 7 plus -3 is +4 over 2. 0 plus 9 is 9 over 2. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now 9/2, if you leave it like that, that's fine. I don't really want you to change it to decimals. But in order for us to graph it, we should probably change it to a mixed number. So 2 goes into 9 4 times with 1 left over, and you take that leftover and put it above the denominator, so 4.5. Again, you can check it on a coordinate plane. Okay, number 78. So let's shorten this just a little bit. Let's not write the formula. Okay, so we know we're going to have the x's added up, 15 plus -5 divided by 2. And then the y's added up, so 20 plus -15 divided by 2. Basically, the only way you can make a mistake here is either by not remembering the formula or substituting incorrectly or just doing your basic integer operations wrong. So this is fairly easy. So 15 plus -5 is 10 over 2. 20 plus -15 is 5 over 2. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. Pretty simple stuff. Okay. 80. I'm just going to start this one for you and you can finish it. So we know our midpoint will be negative 3 plus the negative 7 over 2. And then the y's would be 0 plus 6 over 2. So again, once you get it in that form after substituting, should be a piece of cake. 82. So this one I'm going to even do another little shortcut. I'm just going to do something like this. I know I add those, and then I know I add these. So negative 3 plus negative 4 is negative 7, and we divide by 2. And then negative 7 and negative 5 is negative 12 divided by 2. Now I only recommend this if you can do your integers in your head. Okay, so that's going to be a negative 7 halves is negative 3 and a half. And negative 12 over 2 would be negative 6. So midpoint is a fairly easy concept to understand and to perform. Okay, if point M is the midpoint between points P and Q, find the coordinates of the missing point. So we showed how we did it today. So we know our formula for midpoint is adding the x's and dividing by 2, and adding the y's and dividing by 2. We can solve equations in mathematics if we have only one variable. So that's my goal. So basically, we do each midpoint coordinate separately. We don't do them all at the same time. So what I really have is, I have x plus x divided by 2, and that equals my midpoint, doesn't it? Well, you'll notice I have an equation and I can solve it, but I can't because I have 3 unknowns. So if we look at our givens, those are the things that we know right there. I know one of the x's, okay, right here, and I know this midpoint x right there. So let's go ahead and I'm going to erase this and substitute this. Nope, don't substitute the midpoint one there. I'm going to put the 12 there, and then I know the midpoint x is the 7. Okay, then we have to solve for x. So we have to get rid of the dividing by 2, so I multiply by 2 on both sides. 2 on top, 2 on the bottom cancel, and I'm left with 12 plus x equals 14. Okay, I have to get rid of the positive 12, so the opposite is negative 12, and you were shown this in class today. Those cancel, and I'm left with x equals 2. So that's one point, or one coordinate. Now do the same for the y's. So I have y plus y divided by 2 equals my midpoint. Okay, what do we know from our problem? Well, we know that I know this y is right here. So that's 4. And I know the midpoint y is the 2. So again, I'm just substituting into the same formula, but I don't know both x's, and I'm not trying to find the midpoint. Okay, we have to divide by 2 in the problem, so we're going to multiply by 2 to get rid of it. 2 over 2 cancels, and I'm left with 4 plus y equals 4. Okay, I got to get the y by itself, so I'm going to do the opposite, which is a negative 4 on both sides. This is 7th grade math here. You learned how to solve these equations. So y equals 4 and negative 4 is 0. So my new point is 2, 0. So if we were to go ahead and graph this, just to double check, x, y, and x coordinates, and let me see, 5, negative 5, negative 5, positive 5. So let's start over here. We know our midpoint was 7, 2. So that's about 7 right there. There's my midpoint. Okay, I know one of my sides was 12, 4. So that would be kind of off the paper. So let me move this over. Whoops. Put that back. Let's move this over a little bit to give myself some room. Okay, so 12, 4 over 12, somewhere over here, and up 4, maybe right about there. So we know what we're doing right now is we have a line that starts here, goes through the midpoint, and probably ends somewhere over here. So that's the point that we're trying to find. So if we look at our answer, 2, 0 over 2, I probably should have been up right about here. But, you know, we're just estimating it, so my answer isn't too bad. Okay, 86. So let's draw this first. Here's our coordinate plane. See if we can do a better job of estimating this time. Okay, so I know that that's about in the middle, 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 middle. Okay, my midpoint is over 5 and up 11, so somewhere right about here. Okay, I know that -8 and +2 is somewhere right about here. So I'm actually going to go from here through the midpoint, and I'm going to be way up here. So you know that you're going to be probably off somewhere over here. So that's going to be -14. And you know way up here is going to probably be +17, 18. So gives us an idea. So we know that we have x plus x divided by 2 equals our midpoint. So what do we substitute for? We know one of our x's right here is this one right here. So that's -8. And we know our midpoint was given to us, and that was 5. Okay, so let's solve it. So go ahead and multiply by 2. Multiply by 2. Practice makes perfect. Okay, so that's going to be -8 plus x equals 10. Got to get rid of the -8, so do the opposite. +8 on both sides. The -8, +8 cancel because they're opposites. I'm left with x equals 18. And remember we said that. It's going to be way over here. Okay, now do the same for the y's. So I have y plus y divided by 2 equals my midpoint. Okay, what do we know from our givens? I know one of the y's right here is 2. Okay, just don't make sure that you put the midpoint coordinates here and your actual end coordinates here. So that was my end coordinate 2 for the y. And then I know my midpoint y was right there. That's what that m said, midpoint. So that was 11. Okay, let's solve it. Okay, multiply by 2 on both sides. They cancel. So I'm left with 2 plus y equals 22. Get rid of the 2, you do a -2. They cancel. And I'm left with y equals 20. And remember we said that was going to be way up here. So my end coordinate would have been 18, 20. Okay, and I'll let you do 88 for yourself. And we'll have a quiz tomorrow. I'll post this up as soon as I get finished with this video.